Cool. Chandler.
How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. How are you?
Yeah. You got your summer outfit on? Got the
Oh,
white
yeah, man. It's beautiful outside. It's beautiful outside.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Good to have you on here, man. I'm super glad you're able to join us. We're gonna jump right into it, man, because there'll be a lot of stuff that I originally asked you that we're gonna put right into the interview anyway. So so that's what's going on. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Coach Mike with Game Changers, leadership and mentoring organization for high school student athletes. What we're doing now is we're connecting with some of our former players of the week and connecting with them, hearing some of their stories. Some of them are in college. Some of them are transitioning out of high school now and getting ready to start into their big boy or big girl futures. And so today with us, we actually have one of our former, which is Chandler Klinker, who is with us, and he's going to be sharing some great knowledge. So if you know of any other athletes that are out there going in there, maybe their junior or their senior year of high school, this is the time. Share them, tag them, let them know to join in now. We'll be touching base for about the next 30, 40 minutes and just getting some tidbits, what some of the best moves to be able to make and all that other kind of stuff. So without further ado, ciao, ¿cómo estás?
Oh, ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está?
Yeah.
Bene, too?
Bene.
Yes, sir.
I had to break out my Italian. I've been over Italy a couple times, you know what I mean?
There you go.
I figured I'd go ahead. This is the time to do it. So what's up with you, man? Go ahead and give the folks, rundown as far as in just a quick little bio, your name, where you from, as far as in, city, state, because this is all over the U.S. And, in that little tidbit.
Okay, so my name's Chandler Ryan Klinker. I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio. Grew up in Youngstown. Then I moved to Boardman. Went to Boardman High School for 2 years. Then moved out here to Springfield. 5'9", 150. Played football, wrestled, did a little bit of track, marching band, Italian club, all kinds of that good stuff.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good. So let's go ahead. We're going to jump into some of that stuff. What Game Changers does is we focus on 4 things: academics, community service, leadership, and mentoring. So when we contacted you, shucks, it's probably been about a good 3 years or more.
Yeah, it was my freshman year.
Yeah, your freshman year, right?
Yeah.
So when we contacted you, we noticed, solid 3.5 GPA you were pushing. Like you said, multiple clubs being involved inside your school. Let's start it off. Even though the premise of this won't be sports per se, I always want to highlight the other areas of athletes, because a lot of times people don't see how well-rounded athletes are. You know what I mean? It's not more so just, running a ball or the basketball or in a court or in the mat or in a pool or whatever, but more so how as athletes we contribute to, almost like the culture of the school, being involved, like you said, in the Italian club, band as well, So let's start with athletics for you. When did your venture in athletics? When was your first step into the athletic platform?
The first sport I ever played, I was 5 years old. I played football for Boardman Little Spartans. Okay. And I had one of those helmets with the 1 bar on it, man. That's how long ago it was. Probably about 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And, I played every year up until my freshman year, where I decided to go the band direction.
Gotcha.
And but no, man, I always played football. Middle school, I started wrestling and running track. I did high jump. But as soon as high school started, man, I really fell in love with music and playing piano and trumpet and drums and stuff like that. So I took 2 years off, but then I was like, you know what, man? Like, I can't see myself going throughout high school without putting a helmet on. You know what I mean? Because that's the best time to do it, is in high school. So I got back into that. Did track a little bit my junior year. Senior year was just football, though, man. I sacrificed everything and just focused on football because that was most important to me.
Gotcha. So for you, being that you started off so young, in the sports, how do you feel as far as did any of those lessons that you learned playing sports so young kind of add to, who you were becoming as a young man? I mean, because of course, around that time we start talking 5 to 13 is a pretty big jump, but at 13, that's when everything starts to evolve as a man for us, And so how was that as far as in middle school and, being connected, utilizing your sports platform, any of those things kind of help you become who you are?
Oh yeah, big time. Like it taught me how to work with teammates and become a team player as a person. I love, being on a team. I'd rather be with, people than myself.
Mm.
I like to work in groups. But one thing it made me realize is that first time I put on the helmet junior year, I was like, wow, this ain't middle school no more, man.
Yeah.
Dudes were running faster, hitting harder. I,
Right.
I didn't see much of the varsity field my junior year at all. Just getting back in the game, and it was tough for me, moving schools and not being able to start right away.
Mm.
But I tell you what, it made me want to work for it more for sure.
Yeah, gotcha. So, one of the things that I'm always intrigued about as well is the discipline when it comes to the academics, because it's so easy to get short-sighted, deal with just the sport alone. But with that said, when by the time you and I connected in your freshman year, you were at a 3.5 GPA. So to me, it shows that academics played a big part in who you are. What was that in respect to, you making sure that you stayed on top of your grades? I'm not sure where you finished out, at the
Right,
end of
right.
your high school year. You can go ahead and tell us a little. Was it, and
I'll
was
be
it the
honest with you, man. My
3.5?
freshman year, after freshman year, I slacked a little bit. I probably finished with 2.9, 3.0,
Okay.
somewhere around there.
Okay.
I found, that working was a little bit more important for me, and sports was a lot more important. It's just after I was starting to learn stuff I wasn't interested in, I put academics. I put them, lower than sports and other things. And I know that's important, but I knew I wanted to join the Navy since I was in about 8th grade. I knew that was my plan. I didn't have a plan B. And I knew you didn't have to be a scholar to do so. So I never really took, especially this year. I had senioritis, man. Didn't do. I didn't work too hard. Didn't really apply myself like I did other things. But I never failed a grade, nothing like that. I just
Right.
like music and sports just had so much more of my interest than school. But no, I started strong and I finished all right. But I knew what my plan was, so I was okay with that.
Got you. Sounds good. So even with that said, and this is more so to anyone that's contemplating on going that route. And this is the reason why I really want to also have Chandler. Chandler, everyone else that we had has either is in college or is graduating. But the reason why I want to bring Chandler in at the beginning here for two reasons. Number one, before he gets ready to get in the throes of everything and, possibly being whatever that transition looks like. When they call, you answer. The second part of it is, being able to kind of be on the cusp of just graduating and then seeing and trying to figure everything out, and then also being able to reflect, maybe a few years back and be like, man, wow, I remember that. And, just kind of growing from these moments as well. For someone that might not have everything planned out or saying that, well, I'm not sure that I want to pursue college, but let me go ahead and I still want to be a part of a team on a larger scale, of course, when it comes to the military, but still being able to see their path. And like you said, this is something that you wanted ever since you were in the 8th grade, and you've been kind of stayed steadfast on that and want to make sure. So what was it? Well, we'll get into that in the military because we'll spend a nice little piece of time on that. But when it comes back to, say, for instance, like coaching, some of your coaches that you were around, you even transferred. So let's start with the transfer piece. Like you said, you started at Boardman and then you transitioned over to Springfield. What was that like for you? And what was the reason that you decided to do that transfer for any of our student athletes that might be thinking about, man, should I transfer? Should I not? And so on and so forth.
So my sophomore year of high school, I was going to Boardman, and my mom lived out here in Springfield, and my dad lived in Boardman. I was with my dad,
Okay.
and so I'd come over here, and in the neighborhood I live in, there's people everywhere. I met a lot of friends, and they're like, Chandler, man, you should come to Springfield. You come to Springfield. So I went to all their basketball games in the wintertime. I met a bunch of people. Really liked the people. It's more of like a home style oriented school, real small. I have a graduating class of I think 72 or 80 something. So I love that fact that I could probably come here and make a bigger impact than I would at Boardman. Plus just the scenery out here, it's a lot different. Boardman, it is to play varsity sports and be recognized in Boardman it's very tough. It is so tough. There's so much more competition, and I didn't take the easier route or anything like that, but I just thought a new chapter in my life. Change is always good if it's positive. You know what I mean? I like change in my life. So I was like, you know what, Mom? I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna go to Springfield and I'm gonna try out for the football team, and that's what I did. It wasn't easy to say, but at the same time, I came right in time to where football was starting. and I joined like a week late, I think. And just those guys accepted me. And once you're accepted on like a sports team a little bit, you kind of ease your way in. You know what I mean? It was easier. I'm glad I did that and just didn't show up to school the first day. You know what I mean? It was nice being a bunch of new people. A lot of competition though here in Springfield. The players that I played and the coaches that I met, man, to play varsity for Springfield Local Tigers this year and last year was you just have to be a different sort of athlete. It's crazy out here, but when it comes to like friends and all that, I did all right meeting people. Coaches were awesome, man. I tell you what, my coaches, I wouldn't trade them for the world. They were awesome, but it wasn't that hard, man. As long as they saw that you were working hard, for the black and orange, they respected you in a way, So it wasn't too bad.
Good stuff. So going a little bit further deeper, or going a little deeper rather, when you consider as far as in the intrinsic values that coaches really pour into athletes, what would you say are some of the lessons that you learned from some good coaching along your journey?
I learned that it's not like, doing drills and everything. That's not all what it's about. It's a lot of the mental side of it. Like my coach Brungard, my offensive coordinator, who won a couple national championships at YSU, he was the type of guy that had, he had his receivers taking notes during film. He had his receivers alone, one-on-one, talking to them. He had these worksheets that we'd pass out on a Thursday or Wednesday before a game that you'd have to fill out like a test almost, you know what I mean? So he taught me and a lot of my teammates, like, if you study the game on a Friday night or Saturday morning, whenever you play, you won't be thinking as much. You'll be playing, you know what I mean? You won't be thinking as much. And I always got in my head when I played. I stopped playing receiver my senior year because I just got in my head a little bit. I thought too much. But for him, it was definitely the mental side. My coach Guerrero, my head coach, it was learning how to bond with people better. Like, he took us on a senior trip to Geneva. He made sure all the seniors were close-knit, stayed in touch every day, saw each other. It was more like a brotherhood. And he taught me how to, put down my guard and just, like, whatever the team needs, no matter if, he wants you. Like, for example, I play special teams and I play defense every once in a while, but I was mainly a special teams guy and what's called a scout D guy, meaning I'd go up against our varsity offense. And our varsity offense was obviously second best in the state, state runner-ups. Crazy, man. I tell you what, they pushed me every single day. And there was just so much competition on that practice field because of how many athletes that we had. So he just taught me how to, like, embrace that and become closer with the kids, for sure.
Gotcha. Good stuff. What would you say, going through some of these differences as far as the schools and things like that, what would you say was some of the biggest challenges that you had to kind of get over or hurdle, to kind of get to where you are now?
Well, I learned real fast that no matter where you come from, people don't care, where you come from, especially in a team setting. Doesn't matter where you come from. You're not going to walk on anywhere and just be an athlete and star and, play every down or get every news coverage that you want. And at first I was like, wow, man, I'm not starting like I thought I was. I wasn't who I thought I was. So I learned to, like, humble myself and not really, it doesn't matter where you're from, you can go anywhere and challenges will be different. But that was probably my biggest challenge. Was I came in a little hot, thinking, oh, I'm from Bournemouth. This will be easy. There was no part of it that was easy whatsoever. You know what I mean? I was challenged. That was probably my biggest challenge.
Gotcha. Well, the humility factor, I believe, is a lot of times overlooked because a lot of times, like you said, people come in hot and, it's one or two ways you can go about that. Either you can, look at humility and look at it in a negative standpoint, like, oh, you're trying to, check me. And, it's really just ego and pride that sets in. Right. That won't allow you to kind of bring it back in and say, what is the lesson behind all of this? My coach pulling me to the side, chewing me out, whatever, where I'm not taking it personal, or that I'm actually, the flip side of it is what he's telling me and, getting down in my stance or giving my best, not dogging it or whatever, and how that actually translates to life, you know what I mean? And making sure that I'm giving 100% any opportunity, whatever it is, classwork or whatever, making sure I'm giving 110. So yeah, that's good observation. So let's start talking about, when we're at your, junior, your senior year, we have a new school that's on our plate, learning the dynamics of almost like a different school culture or what have you. You really started, I guess, to press in a little bit more with respect to enlisting. So what was this process like for you? And when did you start doing some of the legwork to, you know, say, okay, you know, it's going to be time. Let me go ahead and do whatever I need to do.
Well, my dad was in the military, and his dad for generations. You know what I mean? So that was always like an option that I knew I had. And my dad always made sure to educate me. Like, you know, your country does so much for you. The least you could do is do something for your country. And I always had like you said, I love being a team player. And the Navy's the biggest sea team out there. You know what I mean? The best at that. And probably my sophomore year, going in the junior year when I first moved here, I was like, you know what? Because there's a lot of kids that go to my school that have military families and people that go into the military, and I'm like, you know what, man, this lifestyle they live, they get paid to travel, they get to see the world. My biggest thing with the whole thing was I wanted a uniform that said Klinker on it and had an American flag on my right shoulder facing backwards. That's just been my thing. That'll be my biggest accomplishment, is just getting that uniform that says my name. Because I love wearing uniform. You know what I mean? I'd wear my football jersey when I first got it, when I moved here. I'd wear it around the house. You know what I mean? I just love being in uniform. So, plus, you know, college isn't for me. But it was junior year that I really looked into it. And then this year, I signed my papers, got my contract, everything finalized. I leave July 13th for the Navy. And I'm ready to get out of Youngstown. I'm ready to get out of Ohio. I think there's so much that the world has to offer that we just all haven't seen yet, and I want to be part of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, completely understand.